defensively? I mean, what do these guys bring to the field?
It's a weird defense in terms of the front, how they do things. Another thing, I think they do a lot of stuff, and the whole philosophy of this defense, in my opinion, is the way they align to things. They can bring pressure at all times from anywhere, and not really give it away. And so, yeah, same deal. We've kind of simplified it for ourselves, made it easy. I think that'll allow us to, go fast and pick up what we need to pick up, and that just every once in a while we might have a free blitzer coming, but if we follow the rules, then he'll be in my face, and I'll have hot routes and access routes to answer for that. So
you talked about improvement, having the biggest improvement game 1 to game 2. I think that's true of most teams. I think they would say that. Where do you expect that improvement to come in week 2?
One thing I'd really like to see on film of game 2 is just quick, decisive checks at the line of scrimmage for protections. Because if you go look at game 1 film, anytime we made the correct protection check, anytime we made the correct protection check, it was a big play. And that's where a couple of touchdowns came from. It was all correct protection checks. And so, I really want to see that on film of game 2. And then just, shoot, man. There's so much, every facet of your game really improves from game 1 to game 2. So, but in specific, that's what I would like to really see.
Getting the calls in from the sideline, is that second nature to you by now, or is there
second
just stuff
nature.
to slow down?
No, it is second nature. We had a slight change up in signalers, and so that took a little bit of adjusting, but it didn't affect anything in the game. But extremely comfortable with the signals. We have a bunch of dudes that can do that. So
when did that happen? Within the game, or you mean for practice?
It was in a couple days last week.
Okay.
Have you started developing some chemistry with Johnny? I know you guys live together. Does that do anything for that?
Yeah. I guess in terms of like going off the question, by living together, I think it actually kind of does, in the sense, when I'm throwing to Johnny, and this isn't taken away from anyone else, but I know I could throw the worst ball in the world or do something terrible, and he wouldn't care. It's just kind of like, whatever. He's not going to get mad at me. He's not going to get frustrated or anything. Not that any other guys do, but, I feel extremely, extremely comfortable throwing the ball. But, so.
And then just how's that? This is a pretty deep tight end core that people have been banged up at various times. How interchangeable are those guys in those positions, just from a strict offensive standpoint of throwing the ball to them?
Yeah, tight end's an extremely important position in this offense. We have been banged up at times. We're a little banged up, but Coach Oz and Coach Great will always figure that out. But that's one good thing about having some depth. So.
Johnny had more receiving yards on Saturday than he had almost like the last 2 years combined. What was that like when you guys went home?
Oh, well, I was. That first touchdown I threw to him was one of my favorite touchdowns I've ever thrown.
Why?
Because, it was the first touchdown in Autzen. It was also to Johnny. And I realized I threw it to him, and I was like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? And I loved that. That was really cool. So.